Welcome to another episode of the Victory Podcast, driven by Audi. I'm your host, Keely Eure, joined by my co-host and former USC quarterback, Cody Kessler. Cody, I think I can speak for the both of us when I say I'm very excited to be covering a victory podcast this Sunday. USC comes out with a win over Rutgers, 42-20 in the Coliseum under the Friday night lights. It was an interesting week for sure for the Trojans, but they pull out a win. Cody, how are you feeling about this one?
Yeah, it was great to see the Trojans get back into the win column after a 3-game losing streak. I love that we corrected some of the mistakes that have been hurting us over those 3 weeks, right? It was great to see us, go into practice, learn from the tape, and now apply that to this week. It was awesome to see, too, especially with a short week, right? We had to travel back from Maryland, only had a couple days to get ready for this game on Friday against Rutgers, but I thought this football team was ready to go. Love how Coach Riley, Coach Lynn, and the rest of the staff got the team ready to go. With that being said, though, we do have to continue to build off of this, and there was a lot of experience that was gained in this football game. I was so proud too, not only the short week, but also some of the young guys had to step up, right? We had a lot of injuries going into this football game, especially on the defensive side of the football, but that isn't an excuse, especially when you're playing Big Ten physical football. You have to have that next man up mentality. I thought our defensive backs did a great job stepping up. Defensive line, some of the things we'll talk about later in this episode, stepped up as well. I was so proud of some of these freshmen that had to grow up quickly, right, and play in this football game. So I thought they did a phenomenal job there. But overall, you cannot be satisfied with this win. I know it's great to get back, on track and get back in the win column, but at the end of the day, this was a Rutgers football team that had been struggling a little bit, and I thought they played well. Rutgers did a good job. They have some very good football players. They're coached very well, but on paper, this is a lesser opponent, a team that we should go out there and beat, a game that we handled well, I thought. And it's tough, too, when you have injuries like that in a short week. These are games, especially on a losing streak, when you've been struggling, that can be a major letdown, but none of that was true. We did a good job of, like I said, getting prepared on a short week, going out there and dominating. But again, got to build off of this, can't be satisfied, got to get ready to go win again this week against Washington.
Alrighty, Cody, a lot to dive into this episode. Before we do, just a couple of reminders. Be sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. And if you ever want to get your voice heard, be sure to look out for a tweet or a question box, either on Twitter or Instagram. Our socials are VictoryPodUSC. And also, you've heard me say it before, but I'll say it again. If you ever want to send us a text that doesn't require a prompting from us, you can go to wherever your podcasting app is. In the description, it says send us a text. You click on it, it'll open your messaging app, and that's how you can get a hold of us too. We actually have a text to get to as well this episode, Cody. And then one more thing, Cody, I just have to give a special shout out to women's soccer, who defeated UCLA for the regular season Big Ten title, which I know anytime USC can beat UCLA, you're a happy camper, Cody. But for the first ever Big Ten title, USC women's soccer gets it done. I was there earlier this morning, watched it all happen, pulling double duty today, but just had to give a shout out to them because it was incredible effort and cool to see them in person for sure.
Is that the first, and I think you mentioned this off camera, that's the first USC Big Ten, well, I know they do have the Big Ten tournament, which I know yes. Keely was very confused about as well off camera. The fact that you win the regular season Big Ten championship, and then you still, not confused, but questioning why they did both.
The same thing, but different.
Well, for those of you who don't know, like soccer, basketball, you can win the regular season Big Ten championship, which is still a huge accomplishment, but then you have to go play the Big Ten tournament, right, where you have another opportunity to, I guess, what is that? I mean, that's what it's recognized as, though. If you win the tournament, that's where you get the trophy and you go down as Big Ten champs.
But they did get a trophy today.
Regular season.
And that's why I was this is why it doesn't make sense to me.
I get it. I mean, football is obviously all just a big. You have a Big Ten championship game based off of the regular season, but
yes.
Yeah, but for basketball and soccer, you have a tournament. But either way, that is a huge accomplishment. This team was Road Warriors, was unbelievable. Yeah. I know their stadium's still being built, so they had to play a lot of away games this year, but they traveled all across the country and still was phenomenal. That's so difficult too, especially on those short weeks, and you don't have as much time in between games like you do in football. You have to be on the road constantly. So that was awesome to see. So huge congratulations to them. That's awesome. Hopefully that's something that, football and the other sports around can look at and build off of for years to come. But yeah, huge shout out to women's soccer, and hopefully they can go get the job done now in the Big Ten tournament.
For sure. It was definitely exciting to cover. So just had to give a shout out. So thank you for indulging me, Cody. Alrighty, let's start with the offense like we usually do. I know last week, Cody, in the preview episode, even though it would have been the recap if I wasn't sick, but you were critical of Miller Moss, but it seemed like he turned the page against Rutgers this week. What did you make of his performance?
Yeah, I thought Miller played great. This is in my opinion, what we saw on Friday, his style of football, right? I thought he did a great job of managing the offense. He ran the offense. He took what the defense gave them. He allowed his playmakers to do their job. We had a ton of yards after catch, but that's because Miller got them the football with great timing, and he got it to him with great accuracy, right? That allowed Malachi Lemon to run after the catch. That allowed Kyle Ford to have that great stiff arm play and finish in the end zone. When you get the football to your playmakers quick and get it to them early, that allows them to extend the plays. I thought he was phenomenal. Like I said, 71% completion percentage. I was very critical a couple weeks ago about the games that we win. He has a high completion percentage. The games that we've struggled in this year or that we've lost, he has struggled to complete some of those passes. He's been in the 50s or the 60s in some of those games. So I thought he did a great job of being very efficient on the offensive side of the ball at 308 yards through the air, 2 touchdowns passing. And my favorite part of the night from Miller, because I've talked about it so much in the past, we talked about in the Maryland game, was when he pulled the football. Listen, he had 1 rush for 7 yards, but it was for a touchdown. That may seem like such a small stat, right? But in the grand scheme of things, that was probably the most important play of the night for Lincoln Riley's offense, for the type of offense that we want to run. Because, and I've talked about it before, and I forgot who asked the question, but they asked a great question about the guard tackle pull. Right, when they guard tackle pull, there's no one to block the backside end. If Miller just hands it off to Woody, Maryland did it a couple times where we had a negative play because Miller wasn't pulling the football when the defensive end crashed, but he did it this football game, right? And it wasn't quite a guard tackle pull, but it's so funny. Things that we talk about, we bring up and preview them or recap them in different episodes that apply to the next game plan, and we did it perfectly this game. But it ended up being a guard tight end pull, so it wasn't quite a tackle, but very similar style. It took 3 Rutgers defenders with him, and the backside was wide open, and Miller did a great job pulling the football, using his legs. That's something that we've been critical about. Saying, look, you don't need to be a dual threat, but just have a couple times a game where you pull the football, pick up some yards with your legs, like you did against Wisconsin, right? Had a touchdown on the ground, also picked up a huge 3rd down against Maryland. There was times he could have done it a week ago, but this is so important. And I say all that to say this is now going to affect defenses that we play in the future, right? They can't just eliminate having to be responsible for Miller. What you do when you pull the quarterback or pull the football like that as a quarterback, now it forces defenses, and it may be, although he did it one time, it could be against Washington, a play to win the football game, a 4th down to where now Washington has to be prepared for that no matter what. And they don't know when he's going to do it. But now that they've seen it on film again, they're going to be focused on that next week. So that's going to help Woody so much in the run game, help this offensive line. But overall, I thought Miller did a good job of blocking out all that negativity. I'm sure he sees all the comments, right? And he had a great interview, I think, before the game, where they talked about the TV broadcast of him just got to get back to playing within myself, right? Playing smart, not trying to do too much, not putting too much pressure on myself. I thought he did just that. Offensive line did a great job of giving him time in the pocket, went through progression, played within the offense, and did a great job of going out there and dominating on Friday.
Now, you said we, Cody, but I just have to give you credit. It's definitely you. You are the mastermind of this show and talking about all the things that we either hear Lincoln Riley or Coach Lynn talk about or see it in the game. So just want to give props to you on that front.
Well, and I appreciate it. And like I said, all the passing stuff was great, right? And that's Miller's MO, right? He's a pro-style quarterback. He's a pocket passer. He's not a dual threat. He's going to sit back there, go through progression. He can read your defense. He can make the right reads, does all those things well, right? That's where he is at his best. But why I say he just needs to do it a couple times a game in the run game. Pull a zone read, pull a guard tackle when we have guard tackle pull it and pick up a couple yards, or even at best, go get a touchdown, right? That was great to see. That was best case scenario, like I said, because now teams have to prepare for that. They can't just send a defensive end and an outside linebacker on a blitz like Maryland did, completely disregard Miller, and then tackle Woody for a negative gain. Now they have to hesitate. The defensive end has to now be responsible for Miller. He has to play a little bit more slow. He can't just crash down, because Miller has shown again that he'll pull the football and hurt you. And like I said, you never know when it's going to happen, but the more that Miller can show it on film, doesn't have to go out there and run for 100 yards in the game. I don't need you to pull 20 of them. Just pull 1 or 2, keep a defense honest, and force these future defenses that we're going to play have to respect that in the future.
On the whole, though, I know this USC offense has been looking to not only start fast, but sustain drives throughout all 4 quarters. It felt like on that front, they were very efficient against Rutgers. What did you make of what you saw on Friday?
Yeah, this was the definition of starting fast, in my opinion, right? We had a 10-play, 77-yard drive where we finished in the end zone, and we've talked about, at times, starting fast. Then we talk about being consistent. Then it came down to having to start fast in the second half. For me, this was the first game this year, maybe outside of Utah State, where we really put all 4 quarters together, right? If you go back to the Penn State game, right, we played well in the first half and slowed down a little bit in the second half. If you go back to the Maryland game, right, started fast, got a 2-touchdown lead, then slowed down a little bit in the second half, just didn't put it all together earlier in the season. Michigan started slow. Then we played good in the second half. Wisconsin got down by 11. Then we came back and played great in the second half. So it's just really been something that I've been looking for from this team is putting all 4 quarters together. We did just that, right? And like I said, the definition of starting fast, this team had 4 drives. This offense had 4 drives in the first half. All 4 of them finished in the end zone, right? We were 4 for 4. That is winning football. On top of that, and to build off of the consistency comment I just made, we had 9 drives in this football game. Well, we had 10. I'm not counting the last one, though, where we ran the football, or we ran the clock out, ran the football, finished the game, with the ball in our hands. But 9 meaningful drives, 6 of them we finished in the end zone, right? And that's been what Big Ten football is, right? We've learned that you're not going to get a lot of possessions in this conference, right? These teams are going to want to run the football a lot. They want to put time, or they want to take time off the clock with how many times they extend drives, right? And then when you get them, they try to keep everything in front, force you to make mistakes, force you to try to get some 3 and outs, keep everything underneath. So we've got to be able to take advantage of every possession that we had, and we did just that. And this game was the same thing. Rutgers had the ball for 36 minutes in this football game. We only had it for 23 minutes, right? Rutgers ran 89 plays. We ran just over 50, right? So you have to take advantage of those drives when you have them. You have to capitalize on every single possession. And for me, this was the first game where we really did that. But it all goes back to those first 4 series of the game, right? We went 4 for 4 in the first half. We got that great momentum, came back in the second half, built off of it, and then played great football for all 4 quarters on the offensive side.
Now, we've talked at length on this podcast about how we are big Woody Marks fans, and that was no different on Friday night. 3 touchdowns. He is the MVP of this USC offense. I remember asking him on Friday night, I was like, what do you make of a 3 touchdown performance, the first in your collegiate career? And he said, we're playing on a Friday night. It kind of reminded me of my high school days. So I thought that was funny, Cody.
Oh, I love it. I just, little shout out there on Instagram for myself here, a little Instagram plug, but I just posted an Instagram photo from that game that said Friday Night Lights, right? It really felt like that. And I'm glad you brought that up.
You're not the first person to say that, Cody.
I know. I'm plugging the Instagram there. C Kessler 6 if you guys want to follow me on
there
Instagram.
You go.
Go like the photo. But anyways, it did. It felt like Friday Night Lights. But yeah, Woody performed under those lights. He was phenomenal. All 3 of those touchdowns too were in the first half. If you look at his stats, he had 15 carries, 94 yards, 3 touchdowns, like we just mentioned, 6.3 yards per carry. Another game where he's averaging over 5 yards per carry. Been playing phenomenal football for this USC offense. He also had 5 catches for 48 yards, which was the second leading receiver on this football team. He, in my opinion, is really turning into one of the best backs, not only in the Big Ten, but in the entire country because of how dynamic he is, because of his versatility, right? Is he the best running back, just pure back out of the backfield? No, I mean, there's a lot of good backs. I think he's up there. But when you add that extra element of how dangerous he is out of the backfield, and we talked about what this Rutgers defense a week ago, they gave up 3 passing touchdowns to UCLA, 2 running backs in this game, right? We needed him to be an extra factor in the pass game, goes out and has 50 yards. So that was just great to see. I truly believe he is the MVP of this offense. I think he's going to continue to get better. Again, it's still crazy to think that this is his first year in this system. Now, I know he's been a part of the air raid type offenses before, so he fit in so well, and that was one of the big reasons that Lincoln Riley and his staff wanted Woody to come here. But overall, just the things that he's done for this team is amazing. I love how quickly he's picked up this offense. He reminds me a lot of guys that I played with before. He reminds me, he has that calm demeanor of a Buck Allen, right? Yeah. Of a Silas Red, someone that you love playing alongside as a quarterback, someone that you love having in the backfield with you. He's not a big, hoorah, pump up guy. You don't see a ton of emotion, but he's a guy that's going to do his job. He's going to be where he needs to be at all times. He's going to put the team first, and he's going to do everything he can for this football team to win. So that's why I think he's the MVP. And just one more step forward with that, or one other element to that, I loved how consistent we were on Friday night, right? We talked about against Maryland. We had the lead in that football game. We threw it 50 plus times. We only ran it 22, right? Or we had 24, but one of them was a kneel down and one of them was a sack. That to me, when you have the lead, it's tough, to keep the lead. When you have Miller throw it 50 times when you're winning in the football game. Maryland did the same thing. They threw it 50, ran it 24, and they were coming from behind. We wanted to see this football team be a little bit more balanced, especially when we're winning in the second half. We did just that, right? We threw it 28. We ran it 23. Again, limited possessions, but I love how balanced we were. When you play other teams, when you're going forward and you see that your run game is just as good as your pass game, when you throw it for 300, when you have your running back averaging over 6 yards per rush, it makes you 2-dimensional, and it forces defenses to have to prepare for both, and that can help you so much going forward, especially with the remainder of the schedule.
I think something that has kind of been on display more so the last couple of games is just how patient Woody is as a runner. I feel like it's so fun to watch his vision and just how he just really waits for that hole to open.
He's good. Keely, it's crazy too. We talked about, I don't know exactly, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I think he only had 2 100-yard rushes or 100-yard games rushing before coming to SC.
That
And I
sounds
think he's
right.
already above that. And we can look it up later if someone wants to go look exactly. But I think he's doubled that already. But like I said, he is fun to watch. I think he's really getting to showcase what he can do. And not to say that he didn't do that at Mississippi State, right? He's obviously was the leading returner in reception yards for a running back in all of college football, right? He had over, I think, 5,000 or 6,000 all-purpose yards, a ton of touchdowns. So I'm not saying that he wasn't a good player before he got here, but I think he's really getting to showcase his talent in this Lincoln Riley offense. And I think he's earned himself a lot of money and going to play or going to go very high in the draft. And how high that's going to be is up to him. Obviously, he's got to continue to build off of that and have a great offseason. And I know I'm getting a little ahead here, but I think he's doing a good job of making himself a lot of money for the next level this season and putting out some dominant performances.
I know you were kind of the voice of reason the last couple of weeks, Cody, when it comes to USC's offensive line, saying that they were actually taking steps forward. What did you see from them on Friday night?
Yeah, that's probably the biggest positive for me right now is just the consistency, right? And how many times in off-season episodes, in spring ball episodes, in fall camp episodes of you and I or this coaching staff or Lincoln Riley or Coach Hinson use the word continuity and consistency with that starting five up front, because it is so important when you have an offensive line, when you have a right guard and a left guard, or a right guard and a right tackle working together, a left guard, left tackle working together, then you have a center making calls from the inside out. You have to get comfortable with the guy next to you, right? You got to continue to develop those relationships, and it really feels like we've found that starting five. It was great to see Emmanuel Pregnon, who had a little bit of an injury a week ago, was questionable this week, and didn't know how much he was going to be out there. He toughened up, or he went out there and showed his toughness and wanted to be out there for his guys. So that was great to see, because that helped him continue to build that consistency. Alani Noah, again, got another start at right guard. He really seems like he solidified that spot. But I just love, when, like I said, when you start playing more together, you start getting more comfortable, and then it's a results-based business that we play football, and the results come off of that, right? And the big thing for me is no sacks given up this night. We did a great job in protection and pass protection, somewhere that we were I don't want to say bad at, but we struggled a lot early on in this season. We struggled with giving Miller time to throw. Go back to Michigan, go back to Wisconsin, some of those games early on to where it felt like Miller was getting hit almost every time he dropped back, right? This game on Friday, he had time to go through his progression. And I know we were getting the ball out a little bit quicker, and we were hitting some of these crossing routes when they were playing man, and we had a lot of yards after catch. Miller wasn't, sitting back there taking 5 hitches and throwing it deep down the field, but he had progression to go, or he had time to go from 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 to get down to the checkdowns, to get down to your second and third reads. That allows you to play a little bit quicker as a quarterback, and it gives you a comfortability level that will help with your accuracy, right? You're not worried about someone falling at your legs or taking those hits. He took a couple hits, which is going to happen. That's fine. But overall, I feel like they took a huge step forward. The other thing for me, the run game was phenomenal. We had 23 carries for 135 yards, which 135 doesn't sound like a lot, but off of 23 carries, that's averaging over 6 yards per carry. And then the other stat that you love as an offensive lineman, he had 4 rushing touchdowns on the night. So when you're an offensive lineman, I've talked about before, or an offensive line unit, when you're struggling a little bit in pass protection, when you're struggling a little bit building that confidence, the best thing to do is establish the run game so you can work downhill, right? You're not having to kick step or drop back against a J.J. Watt or a Myles Garrett or a T.J. Watt, some of those, dominant pass rushers, Abdul Carter. You can start going forward and take the hit to the defense, and that's something that we've established the last couple of weeks, and you really see it with the confidence this offensive line is playing with.
Now, something that kind of came apparent to me on Friday night, and also talking with Miller Moss about it, USC missed Malachi Lemon when he was out after that Michigan injury scare. What a night for Malachi. I just want to read this stat. Lemon is the first USC player with a return of 80 or more yards and a reception of 70 or more yards in the same game since Marquise Lee did it against Oregon in 2012. So got it done both as a wide receiver and as a special teamer on Friday.
Yeah, that was awesome. And I'll start with Malachi. I want to talk about the receiver room as a whole, but I'll start with Malachi. I got to give him his flowers. He, in my opinion, it's tough to say, is he wide receiver 1 now? Because we've had so many guys each week be that person, right? Be wide receiver 1. But the last 3 weeks, he has led the team in receiving, right? He has led the team in explosive plays on the outside through the air. He's making those big time clutch catches. He's making those big plays on the perimeter that you've got to have. It's just great to see. So in my opinion right now, he is that wide receiver 1. Is that going to continue, throughout the rest of the year? Who knows? Maybe next year or next week is a Kyron game again, or it could be a Jacoby Lane game again, or Deuce Robinson. So we just see different guys stepping up over and over. But right now, for me, Malachi is that number 1 receiver. And it's someone that we talked about in the offseason, right? I was very high on Jacoby Lane, but we told people when we broke down the film, right, when we watched Malachi Nelson's film when he was committed to come here to USC when they were getting, or after they signed. I was watching his tape at Los Al and kept trying to figure out who the receiver was. He was thrown through over and over. And then sure enough, it found out to be Malachi Lemon, who was coming here at USC. So I was beyond excited, but I've been very high on Malachi ever since that point, since I've seen his high school tape. It's great to see his hard work, his dedication. Didn't get a ton of playing time a year ago, right? And another guy I'm sure could have looked elsewhere, was a very high four-star, five-star, high-end wide receiver that probably could have went in the portal and played somewhere else, but he wanted to stay here at USC, wanted to develop under Coach Simmons, under Lincoln Riley, and you're really seeing that, take off this year and him build that consistency, which is great to see. Another thing, like you mentioned in that stat, love seeing him back there returning kicks, right? And we talked about with Zachariah trying to find that spark again and build confidence. He will get there. I truly believe Zachariah will get that back. But in the meantime, let someone else back there and get an opportunity, right? And that's great to see Malachi be that player and go back and get those opportunities. A huge explosive play in the return game. We've yet to have one of those since the LSU game. So that was great to see, and it really got the crowd into the football game, got everybody excited. Zachariah is still returning punts, so I'm waiting for that spark from him too, and I think he's just, a player or two away from getting that. But overall, I thought Malachi played phenomenal. Now, going down the line a little bit, some other guys that stepped up. Kyle Ford had some big-time plays in this game, right? I love him being able to be physical, use that frame to your advantage, right? You're in a tight end body that runs like a wide receiver, that can play like a skill player. Same thing as Deuce Robinson, right? You're in a tight end frame, but you play like a receiver. You have the hands like a receiver. Not to take away from tight ends. They've got great hands, but are they going to stop on a dime? Some of them will at the NFL level. Some are a lot of fun to watch, but at the college level, it's very unique to see a 6'6" or a 6'5", 220-pound plus wide receiver out there catching footballs and running drag routes across the middle. So that was great to see for Kyle Ford. Let's have a little better ball security, right? That's the one knock on the night for him, was he did have that fumble. Now, great job by Jay Fair getting on the football, but how cool was it to see another guy who, let's not take away from him, he made, I'm sure he regrets it, he made a very poor decision in his life and his career choice.
From you, Cody.
He went to UCLA. He went to the wrong school for a year, but then we welcomed him back with open arms. He apologized. He said, sorry, guys, I was tripping on Twitter. So we all welcomed him back. But no, all jokes aside, that was great to see him have some flashes. That's just kind of goes back to my point about, yes, I would say Malachi is wide receiver one at this moment because of how well he's played the last 3 weeks, right? He's just been phenomenal. And this was his best game yet. I think he's going to continue to build off of it. But we have so many playmakers on this offense. They could be someone new. Every week, Jacoby Lane was that guy against Wisconsin, had a couple big-time plays, that amazing catch against Maryland, but had a couple quiet games since then, right? Minnesota was a little bit of a quiet game when we thought he was really going to be the breakout player this year. On Friday, had another, quiet performance, only 2 catches on the night, only 18 yards. So it's just, for me, Zachariah, another guy, would have had his first touchdown. And that was very unfortunate to see because for me, that was, and I don't want to rant too much on it. You know how I feel about the officiating this year, but
I do.
Don't know how they overturned that. I really, really don't know how they overturned that. That's a catch through and through. The worst for me is when they have, I think it was Gene Statutor again, that was the rules official or the analyst on this football game. The worst for me is when they overturn it or they make a call in the field, and then you have the analyst on the TV copy get on there and say, I hate this call. I wouldn't have called it that way. I don't like it doesn't make us feel any better.
Yeah, right.
But then it just solidifies that they were wrong. I'm like, so it's frustrating, but I say all that to say it's just, we've been wanting Zachariah to have that spark, right? He only had 2 catches again on the night. Should have been 3 with a touchdown. Still waiting to get that first touchdown of the year. Was an unbelievable athletic play by Zachariah to go up and get that football. Yes, did the ball slightly move when he landed? Sure. But within the rules, he still maintained possession. He had his arms under the football. The ball never moved in his left arm. It stayed tucked to his chest plate. So should have been a touchdown. But again, I can keep going on and on. Deuce Robinson had a quiet night, but overall, it just feels like every week there's another player stepping up and becoming that premier playmaker. But someone at some point, and I think Makai's that guy, has to really solidify themselves a wide receiver one, because going back to when I was playing at USC, I just think back to when I got in game situations, there's a lot of great players who played around me. Don't get me wrong. But my junior year, I knew that if it was tough, if it was crunch time, if I was struggling a little bit, find 15. I'm going to find Nelson Aguilar. I have a go-to guarantee guy I can get the football to. My senior year, right after Nelson leaves, there was Juju Smith-Schuster. I knew that I could find Juju. He was going to be that playmaker to go out there and make some big-time plays. My sophomore year, Marquise Lee, right? I knew, okay, if I'm struggling a little bit, Nelson's a great backup or security blanket, but number 9, where's number 9 at on the field? I'm going to go find him in man-to-man and get him the football because I know he can get things going. So that's why to me it's so important to find a wide receiver one. But right now, it's really by committee. We have a lot of guys that are stepping up, and Malachi Lemon is a guy I think is at the top right now and really is working himself into that role.
Speaking of Nelson, he scored a touchdown today. See that, Cody?
Did he? No, I didn't. I was watching USC versus Rutgers today during the football game. So I
Fair
watched,
enough.
I was
appreciate
watching those
that.
copies back. Yeah.
To be fair, I wasn't watching
That's
it
awesome.
either. I saw it on Twitter.
All right, Nelson just talked to me last week. He was giving me a hard time for one of my workout photos that I posted.
Good, as he should.
I posted a fitness photo. Hey, you know what? Let me do my content stuff, okay? I'm a broadcaster.
You didn't want to post ever the last 2 years, and suddenly here you are with gym selfies. Okay.
Hey, you get some brand deals, you get some content deals. It gives you a little bit of motivation. And
you're a sellout, is what you're saying. I got it.
Yeah, basically. But Nelson messaged me and was like, "Dude, this isn't MySpace. Please take this elsewhere." But no, we were talking back and forth. We've been talking a lot the last couple of weeks too. But no, that's great to see. Love Nelly was one of my, still to this day, one of my best friends. But yeah, that was great to see. But yeah, I say all that to say you got to find that, right? It's great when you have different guys stepping up each week, right? And having so many playmakers, but in crunch moments and got to have it situations as a quarterback, it makes it so much less stressful in those, intense moments when you have a wide receiver one, a go-to guy that you trust, that you know where he's going to be at all times, and you can get him the football.
Well, what I think is interesting is I feel like sometimes a quote-unquote USC problem is maybe not necessarily knowing who that wide receiver one is, but that's because the talent level and the consistency is so high. And I think this year we obviously see the talent level is there. It's just the consistency piece has been missing so far this season.
Yeah, I mean, it's just how many times, we thought in week one, right? Kyron Hudson, he's a veteran, unbelievable catch against LSU. He's the guy, right? And they did a stat on the Trojan Tailgate show, our pregame show before the game, about it was someone new every week, and no one had more than 2 games of being the leading receiver, right? So it had been someone new pretty much every single week. So we thought Kyron was going to be that guy to start out this year. Then we saw Jacoby Lane have his breakout game. Was this his the game where he starts taking over and becomes that true wide receiver one after Wisconsin? Went a little bit quiet, had that unbelievable catch against Maryland, which was unreal. Yeah. And we didn't get to preview that last week or recap that last week because Keely bailed on me. So we already know that story. So not going back on that. But
and it was a left-handed catch. He's not left-handed, apparently.
Unbelievable. He's making himself some money this year too. I know he's young, but those plays like that, Deuce Robinson, another guy, when you have that big frame and you're that athletic, can make those plays. NFL scouts love that. So, and we get to keep him for another year, which is great also. But then there's a couple games, Deuce Robinson, where, he's leading the team in touchdown catches. Is it now Deuce Robinson, wide receiver one, or that go-to guy? And then obviously the last 3 weeks, it's been Malachi Lemon. So it's really tough to say who that guy is. And then, like I said, it's crazy because one guy will go out and have, 100 yards or 80 yards. And it's not really like someone's going out and having, 15 catches for, 150 yards, those type of games. They're just playing a little bit better than the rest of the group, right? But that's kind of goes back to your point too. There's so much talent that Miller is not keying or locking in on one guy, and you want to spread the football around. Don't get me wrong. I loved having, if Nelson was the guy, I loved having Darius Rogers, to go to as well. I loved having, like I said, when it was Marquise Lee and Nelson going back and forth with those two, having different options, right, to throw the football to, having different players on your team that are playmakers. That helps so much because if they do, cloud or bracket one player on the defensive side of the football and they take that player away, there's other guys that can step up and have those big games. But I do think it's important to have a guy that in crunch time you want to get the football to, and your connections like this, and you can close your eyes and still throw a slant route or throw a comeback and know that he's going to be right where you need him to be because you've done it over and over and you have that level of trust.
For sure. I just think of that Jordan Addison, Caleb Williams whole shot against Oregon State. Like that's what comes to mind when you describe that. That's not a throw that's a lot of practice. You're gonna get me going again back on that show. I know. You want me to break down that play. No, moving up. That's a great point. It is. We've just, like I said, I'm fine if we keep spreading the football around, but in those crunch moments, I think someone has to really emerge. And like I said, I think Malachi Lemon's being the guy right now as that true wide receiver one. Well, what's interesting is this was not what I was going to say to lead into my next point, but it kind of does in a certain way. You could argue at the beginning of the season, that guy was actually like McCree for Miller Moss. And I was going to say, if I hadn't quote unquote bailed on you last Sunday, I would have talked about the return of Lake McCree. So I'm going to ask about it today. What did you make so far of him coming back from injury?
Yeah, first of all, it's been amazing to have Lake back. That was a very scary moment against Michigan. It was for me, it's just, you never want to speculate because obviously I'm not a sports doctor. I don't know any of that stuff. But when you see, I've been around the sport enough, when you see injuries that involve the knee, the lower leg, any of those, you hold your breath because those are the ones that, in my opinion, are most consistent with season ending. So I was very worried about that. But then again, the other part of me was like, well, this is a guy who just rehabbed from an ACL a year ago, or not even a year ago, came back, put his body on the line for his team. So I know he's going to get back out there. So if it is something that's not season ending, he's the right guy to go through this adversity. So that was great to see, first and foremost, him to overcome that, get back out here with his teammates, want to be out there for his brothers and play. I thought last week against Maryland was kind of his ease back into it. I think he had 4 catches, 35 yards in that football game. So that was just kind of getting his feet back wet and getting back to, feeling comfortable in the offense, doing football moves again. It's very different when you miss a couple of weeks, especially in midseason. It's not like it's the off season, and then you can come work out on the side in the spring, get a couple, helmet only practices, get comfortable back into things. You're right back into having to play a football game again, right? So it's tough to miss a couple of weeks mid-season. So I think last week was him getting comfortable again. This week was probably the similar thing. Obviously, we got a comfortable lead against this Rutgers football game, or this football team. We were running the football well, so we didn't need a ton in the passing game. A lot of underneath stuff. Like I said, Malachi Lemon was really, 134 yards on the night. Outside of that, no one else had more than 50. So it wasn't a huge passing night, although we did have 300 yards. But Leighton Cree, 1 catch for 14 yards. I just think the more reps he gets, what will help him continue to get back to being more comfortable in this offense and get back to just being that playmaker at tight end that we know he can be.
Now, I just have to ask, did you remember off the top of your head Lake McCree's Maryland stats?
Yes. Yeah, 4 for 35.
Where
That's
does that
not on my
come
notes.
from?
That's not. Well, okay. That's why when you give me a hard time about watching
I know
a game
it's just
3 times, I can't help it. I can't help it. I could probably rattle off a lot of stats that may be meaningless that no one would care about that I just have. And it's so funny too. Like I wouldn't even doing the preview for this show, I would have never thought of bringing that up because it wasn't in our rundown or kind of where we were going with it, or just some of my main notes from this game. You put it, you bring it up on the spot, and then my brain goes immediately back to that. It's the same thing when you're playing, though. I mean, it is. That's football, and that's why
wild.
It's helped me a little bit transitioning into broadcasting because I get up there, and that's why at practice this is kind of a good insight for fans a little bit, or for you listeners at home, talking about a quarterback that has so many things that go on throughout a week that you can't prepare for everything, right? You've got to be concise. You've got to be, efficient. And I've talked about before, and you've asked me kind of a similar question before about, okay, Cody, you brought up that they have, this Wildcat package. And every time you bring it up, they seem to do it, 1 or 2 times a game. That's because when you watch film throughout the week, this is what they do 80 or 90% of the time, right? These are the important things. I'm going to spend the majority of my practice week, working these reps, but they've shown 1 or 2 times a corner blitz from the left side, or they've shown a safety blitz, right? And it's kind of like this random stat. Wasn't like, really the thick of the episode. But then you get up there as a quarterback. Okay, they're starting to show this safety pressure look. I've practiced it once or twice, but your brain goes back to that, right? Okay, well, I remember seeing it on film, although it wasn't the, what we practiced the most or really consistently what they did on defense. My brain can flash back to that. So it's helped me a little bit in broadcasting. I say all that to say that it is, maybe it's not a good thing at times because I have too many thoughts in my head. But yeah, that was funny. You brought that up, and I immediately was like, oh yeah, Maryland game, 4 catches, 35 yards, got back into a rhythm. I remember my notes from a week ago. So
that's why I had to ask.
That's a little insight into a former quarterback's brain right there.
Absurd. That's why I had to ask, because I was like, I know you didn't write that down, and I'm like, where is this coming from? Absurd.
Yeah, that is. Well, you would have known that a week ago. I'm still obviously salty if you can't tell. You would have known that a week ago if we would have done the episode. And you
Look, I don't know what I ate.
Purposely ate gluten. You purposely ate gluten just so you didn't.
Totally love feeling bad on purpose, Cody.
So anyways, but no, yeah. I all jokes aside, no, it is great to see Lake back, and he's a warrior on this football team. He's a leader. He's the type of guy that you want, kind of building the foundation and the culture of your football team.
On that note, Cody, any other thoughts about USC's offensive performance?
Now, the final one for me, one of the notes I had was talking about the Zachariah touchdown. That was kind of a side note, but we obviously got into that. Still, a little upset about that. I hate to see it taken away from him. He's been working hard this year. He's been, really fighting for those opportunities. Won't go into it again, but that was one of my side notes. Did not think that should have been overturned. Thought that should have been a touchdown. And then the other thing, 3 of 6 on third down on this offense, or for this offense, 50%. I'll take that. That's a win. Only 6 third downs the entire football game is crazy to me, right? You may think, okay, we only have 3 conversions on third down, but 50% is great, right? If we have 10, then we go 5 of 10. If we have, 12, we go 6 of 12. So that's winning football. You always want to be above 40% on the offensive side of the football. That's what you strive for. 45% is ideal. So to see 50% on third down was great. And the other thing, too, it was great to see some of the backups get to play on that final drive. Brian Jackson get a couple carries. Marion Peterson get a couple carries. Jaden Maeva got to play a little bit at quarterback and saw some of these younger guys get some reps, which I think is important for the development of this football team. But yeah, very clean, efficient, didn't turn the football over the entire night. That was huge. I thought it was a very clean game on offense, and it was really one of the games that we saw us put all 4 quarters together. We started fast and we finished fast and we played well. And we made the most of our opportunities.
Alrighty, I want to talk about USC's defensive performance. Before we do, just want to give a thanks to Audi. What you expect from an SUV is a range of sizes to fit your lifestyle. Expectations matter, but exceeding them matters more. The Audi family of SUVs, progress you can feel. And Trojan fans, celebrate every USC win and enjoy the sweet taste of victory with a free donut at Ralph's the day after the win. Download your digital coupon from the Ralph's app to score your free donut at any Los Angeles area Ralph's store. Alrighty, Cody, let's talk about USC's defense. Now, it was somewhat of a surprise to me, Cody, when the availability report came out. 4 of USC's starters in its secondary were listed as questionable, but I obviously keep an eye on warmups because I got to give that report for the Trojan Tailgate Show. Did not seem like they were going to be ready to play, and they ultimately did not. So not only is USC's defense without Anthony Lucas and Eric Gentry, both out for the season, but now they're down 4 other starters. What did you make of what Lynn and the defense were able to do with many injuries on Friday night?
I was just so proud of the way this football team played. I thought they did a phenomenal job from the top down, right? From the coaching staff to the position coaches to the young guys that had to go out there to the veteran players that were on the field already that have played a ton this year. They just did such a phenomenal job of having that next man up mentality. And you love to see that because Coach Riley and Coach Lynn on Trojans Live, and then Keely Arnold, and then I think Kyron Hudson, and then Mason Cobb have all said the word or the phrase, the standard is the standard.
Yeah.
Right? And they've said that so many times, and I love that because that's echoed throughout the entire team from coaching staff all the way down to, your walk-ons to your backups, is it doesn't matter if it's your starters out there, if we're up by 40, if we're down by 40, if it's a close game, whoever's out there, the standard is the standard. And this is the way that we played. And I think this game, along with the Utah State game where we got to see a lot of backups, was so true. And it really echoed that. And it really showed, how important that is for the culture of this football team. So that was great to see. Like I said, a lot of young guys had to step up. This easily could have been a game where you're coming off a 3-game losing streak, right? You have Anthony Lucas and you have Eric Gentry, 2 of your dominant playmakers are out for the season. Then you lose 4 starters in the back end, 4 of your 5 starters. Keely Eure was out there. He was a little banged up from a couple weeks ago as well, but you have 4 of your 5 starters out in the secondary. This could have been a game to where, you're on a short week as well, to where we struggled on the defensive side of the football. We didn't play fast. We didn't do, we weren't flying around. We had a lot of misassignments. We had a lot of mistakes. Was it perfect? No. Were there some big plays given up? Sure. But overall, I thought this defense and Coach Lynn did a phenomenal job. A lot of young players had to grow up quickly. They did just that. I love that Lynn still played aggressive as well, right? Even with these young guys that were in there, even with a lot of starters out, he didn't change the DNA of his defense. He didn't change, the way that he game plans. He didn't get away from being aggressive. He stuck with that, and it was so cool to see. And it's even more impressive that Rutgers in this football game ran 89 plays. Let that sink in. I talked about how they had 36 minutes of time of possession. We had 23 minutes. They ran 89 plays on the offensive side of the ball, and we still held them to 20 points. So that is great to see with a depleted roster, with a lot of guys that were injured. So it's very encouraging, great to see, and I love that it really goes from the top down. And like I said, the standard is the standard, and that held true on Friday.
We hear so much about how there's only so much you can do in practice. Like, you have to be in a game to really get that experience. In that sense, how valuable were these reps for the young guys who got their number called?
Oh, 100%. Well, I'll get into kind of, the specifics of it with position groups and stuff and that in a little bit, especially the defensive line later on the show. But I'll start with just the secondary. I loved the way that Lynn wasn't afraid to play different personnel packages, right? He wasn't like, okay, these are the guys that have the most experience. We're just going to stick with them until maybe someone gets hurt or someone needs a quick breather. No, he had different personnel groupings. I loved his creativity. Like I said, especially in the secondary throughout this football game, multiple packages with Zion Branch playing safety, then Keely Arnold at nickel, then Bryson Shaw came in to play safety. Then Keely Arnold would go back, and then Anthony Beavers would come in and play that nickel linebacker hybrid type position, at that spot on the outside. Then he would bring in Christian Pierce, a younger player, to play a little bit of safety. He just wasn't afraid to put a lot of different guys in. Prophet Brown played a good amount, right? We had John Humphrey and DeCarlos Nicholson on the outside, but he brought Prophet Brown in to get some more experience. But it's just so valuable to get those playing situations. And at college, at the NFL, at any level, until you really play, until you get meaningful reps, you are still a rookie. You could be a 3rd-year player. You could be a 4th-year player. You could be whatever year it is. But until you actually get on the field, there's a saying we always joke around about in the locker room, you're still a rookie until you get those true reps in this game. And like I said, a lot of young guys had to grow up quickly. A lot of young guys played a lot more meaningful snaps than they had in the past. And I was just so proud of the way that Coach Lynn trusted them, but also how they performed on Friday.
We got to talk to Zion Branch after the game, and I asked him, given how hard that road to recovery was for you, how meaningful was it to get as much playing time as you got on Friday? And he was like, as grateful as one could be. What did you make of how much playing time he got? Well, obviously we know why, but what did he do with that playing time?
Yeah, I just kind of going back to what you said too, and it's kind of like talking about Lake McCree a little bit. And some of these guys that have overcome injury, Eric Gentry a couple of years ago, right, missed a lot of time, and then he's playing so well, or was before he got hurt this year. Just guys that have had to battle through injury, and obviously Zion Branch is at the top of that list. I guess fortunately, unfortunately, there's two sides of it because you never want to see a guy have to deal with that throughout his career, but you also learn a lot about that as a player, and you learn a lot about yourself. When you go through those adversity moments and how you're going to respond. He has passed with flying colors. He has gone above and beyond for this football team. When you hear Coach Riley talk about the culture, the standard, the core of this team, Zion Branch is one of the guys that comes to mind. I just love that he's getting his opportunity. It's not like he is, a charity case. It's not like, oh, okay, well, he worked hard. He deserves a shot, right? Oh, he overcame adversity. You feel for the guy. Let's let him play a little bit. He is earning these reps. He is playing phenomenal football right now. He is hungry. He's a guy that wants it very badly, and you can see that. It shows up on the tape. He's a very smart football player. Me and Sue were talking about this, I think off camera, or it might have been on camera on one of the Trojan tailgate shows, just the way that he plays a safety position. He understands angles. He's a smart football player. He knows that banana technique is a safety where I have a corner outside, so I'm going to work inside out, force everything to the sideline, and then I'm going to go hit that front hip and take your legs out and just make physical tackles, wrap up. Smart football player, like I said, just so much fun to watch. But yeah, it's great. It's awesome when you see younger guys get these reps, but when you have a story like Zion has, to overcome the adversity, go through those injuries, it just means a little bit more, not only as a fan, but as a, part of the Trojan family.
For sure. Now we got a question from Jonathan who said, why did our secondary play so far off the ball? And correct me if I'm wrong, Cody, but I'm going to guess because of the personnel, Lynn was trying to keep everything in front of the defense and then just kind of do a bend, don't break type of style.
Yeah, it's exactly that, in my opinion. And that leads perfectly into my next point. And that's a fair question because I did see that a good amount on this football game, especially on some of those third down passing situations. But I think we played the definition of bend, don't break style of defense on Friday, but we played it at a high level. We did a very good job with that, right? And in this football game, Rutgers had 434 yards of total offense, which seems like a lot, but that was off of 89 plays in this game. We've talked about that before, right? They dominated in time of possession. They had a significant amount more plays than we did. They had 89 plays for 434 yards, but when you look at the numbers, they only averaged 4.8 yards per play. That is winning football, right? That's something for me that is so important. Also, when you run 89 plays, but you only put up 20 points, again, that is the definition of bend, don't break. That is keeping everything in front of you. That's not giving up the explosive plays. That's going to mean playing off a little bit on the outside, right? Not playing a ton of press man-to-man coverage with some of those younger players, not playing a ton of press in the nickel position or in the slot where you're putting some of these guys on an island. Now, yes, we were very aggressive. We stuck to our DNA on defense, especially when it came to pressuring the quarterback or sending some of these blitzes home and getting some pressure from the back end. We brought a ton of safety blitzes, right, to stop the run game. You play a little bit tighter to the line of scrimmage when you have a run-first type of offense. Now, when we got the lead, that forced them to throw a little bit more, and I think Lynn, just wanting to be comfortable, like I said, played off with some of those younger guys, not putting them in a bad spot or position to get beat, but that's what you do as a defensive coordinator. That's what you do as a coordinator on any side of the football. You put your guys in positions to win. I thought we did a good job of giving up some of those plays, but we came up and tackled well, right? And we talked about Monungai. This was a big game for being surefire tacklers, right? We had to go up there, wrap up, no arm tacklers, and it was funny. Brock Heward was one of the play-by-play or the color commentator on the game, which is Luke Heward's brother, who's our quarterback coach, but he talked about Monungai. I think he said he's a wrecking ball with agility or something, or a
Sounds
pinball
similar.
or whatever it is. Just kind of like how I said he's a bulldozer with speed, but it's just funny, different quarterback minds watching film and breaking it down kind of think the same thing. But overall, I thought we did a good job, whether it was in the pass game, keeping everything in front, coming up and tackling, or in the run game. Obviously we missed some. Was it perfect? No. But overall, it was a bend, don't break defense. And I have some stats to back that up. Just listen to this. This is crazy too. I can't think back of, watching a game or breaking down statistics over a football game that you've seen these type of numbers that only led to 20 points. So what I mean by that, listening to some of Rutgers' drives, right? They had their first drive of the game, 12 plays, right? They went 12 plays, finished with a field goal, right? Only had 3 points to show for it. One of their other drives, they had 8 plays, turnover on downs. Right before the half, they went 16-play drive, held to a field goal. And that was a great job before the half, holding them to 3 points. They had multiple plays with goal to go distance. What I mean by that is inside the 10-yard line, a first and goal, second and goal. We had a couple penalties, obviously, that led to that. But overall, we kept them out of the end zone. Big play by Prophet Brown, a guy who got put on an island that had to grow up quick, gave up a couple big plays, like I said, some explosive plays, one of which led to a touchdown, a couple plays through the air. But love seeing guys like him step up and bounce back from that. Didn't get discouraged, didn't get frustrated, still kept everything in front of him, played smart, reloaded, went to the sideline, watched the tape, came back and played well. So that's, again, a big asset of having these younger guys play and keeping everything in front of you. But then another couple drives. They had 16 plays on one of their drives in the second half, turnover on downs. Then they had another drive that went 13 plays, and then they had a turnover on down on that as well. So that's great defense, especially with a depleted roster. Again, I know I said it a lot, but that's the definition of bend, don't break. When you're giving up multiple 16-play drives or 13-play drives or 12-play drives, and they have turnover and downs or field goals to show for it, that is winning football, especially when you have younger guys to play. Now, with all that being said, I do think, and this kind of goes hand in hand with the question, that we could have been a little bit better on third down. We could have been better on some of these fourth down, get off the field plays, right? But when it mattered most, our guys made the plays. I really believe that. We made those plays to get those stops, to hold them to 3 points, to get the turnovers on downs, which was great to see. But on third down, they were 11 of 22. Let that sink in. They had 22 third down attempts in this football game. Now, that's 50%. That is, obviously a lot higher than what we've been this entire season on third down. We're a top 5 team in the country on third down. But when you give up 22 third down attempts, or a team has 22 third down attempts, holding them to 50%, I'm going to take that as a win. That is a lot of opportunities on third down. Normally you want that number around 30, on the defensive side of the ball, even lower. That's what we've been at this year. But that's kind of give and take there a little bit because there were so many opportunities. Fourth down, they were 3 of 6 on fourth down conversion, which could have been better, right? 50% fourth down conversion is not great, but it's better. That's somewhere that we've, challenged this defense, especially in fourth down situations, getting those stops when it mattered most. We did a great job of that throughout this game. So yeah, and that's a fair question. There were times we were giving up those easy completions on the outside, but like you said, Keely, is to keep everything in front of us and play a true bend, don't break style of defense and not allow those big explosive plays and give up momentum.
Now, you mentioned Kyle Monangai, obviously a red dot player in your preview. He went out with injury, so that's the caveat there, but USC was able to limit him to 86 rushing yards. What did you make of USC's run defense?
Yeah, I mean, he was, he got the football a lot in the first half, although he did go out. That was in the fourth quarter, right, that he did go out. He still had 18 carries in that game. This was the first game that he had less than 19 carries throughout this entire year, but I thought we put on an absolute clinic in the run game. Now, were there some explosive plays? Were there some missed tackles? Absolutely. But one of my keys to the game was we need to stop the run, get a lead early. And that goes hand in hand with offense and defense. But I felt like we needed to stop the run and force this Rutgers offense to try to throw the football to beat us. Force Kaliak-Manis to have to go out there and throw it 30 or 40 plus times. And we did that, right? They ran 89 plays. 47 of those were pass plays because A, they were behind, but B, they were struggling to run the football. They ran it 42 times, and they only had 121 yards rushing. That is less than 3 yards per carry. That is winning football. That's a definition of being a great run defense right there. That was phenomenal to see, especially when you have one of the best backs in all of college football in Kyle Monangai. Now, like we said, I know he missed the fourth quarter, and would he have got the triple digits? Would have been around 100 plus? Yeah, maybe. I mean, and they kept giving him the football, right? He had 18 carries, was above 80 yards on the game, almost to 90. So, yeah, he probably could have got to 100, but overall, we were doing a great job of, containing him, not giving up explosive plays in the run game, especially when they gave it to some of their younger backs, especially when Kaliak-Manis took off. Holding them to under 3 yards per rush, like I said, is winning football. If we can continue to do that and play that way the rest of the season in the run game when we play Notre Dame coming up, right? When we play Nebraska, they've got a freshman quarterback. They like to get their run game going to take some pressure off them. If we can force them to throw the football to beat us, they play into our advantage, right? We have a major advantage. They play into our play style and really send some of these pressures and get home with our pass rush. But like I said, when you have 42 carries in a football game, think back to Michigan game, right? Think back to Minnesota. When you see a team run the football that many times, you're expecting an explosive play here and there, right? Michigan, I thought we were phenomenal for majority of the game, but when you run the football, I think they ran it 47 times in that game. They had some explosive plays because you're going to have a 2 yard, a 3 yard, a 5 yard. Then you have a 40 or a 50. There was none of that in this football game. Explosive plays, the Danton Lynn standard, which is 10 yards, which it's a high standard. I love it, but that's very strict because normally it's 15 to 20, 25. is where you find that explosive play range. Now, to Danton Lynn standards, did we give up a couple? Sure, and that's going to happen. But there were none of those game-changing runs. There were none of those big-time runs that finish in the end zone. I thought, again, phenomenal all-night stop on the run. We really put on a clinic, especially with a lot of young guys that had to step up and play.
You mentioned getting to the quarterback. Obviously, it's been a storyline this season about USC's defensive line and their sack count. Well, it came against Rutgers on Friday. 4 sacks on the night, 3 from USC's defensive line. What did you make about their ability to get the pressure?
Yeah, this was a great job by this defensive line getting pressure on the quarterback. Like you said, 4 sacks on the game. And we've had games where we've had some sacks, right? Not quite where we want it to be, but majority of the time it's from a safety blitz, right? It's from a linebacker. It's from Mascarenas Arnold. It's from Kamari Ramsey, right? It's from Eric Gentry. We haven't seen a whole lot from the defensive line. In this football game, we had 3 of the 4 sacks from the guys up front. Great to see. A lot of guys stepped up, right, with Anthony Lucas out. Again, like I mentioned, Eric Gentry being out. You had to have some guys cover well in the back end so we could get home in the pass rush. We just played really good football. We played solid football on the defensive side all night long. I think that's going to be a huge step forward or a huge confidence boost for this defensive line going forward, knowing that, hey, we can get home with just our pass rush. Our pass rush is enough to get home and get some sacks. We don't have to bring 4, 5, 6 different blitzes or different packages in the game to try to create pressure on the quarterback. We have some guys up front that can get the job done. And I want to give a shout out to some of these younger guys, and I'll talk about some of the vets, but obviously guys having to step up, some freshmen having to play. Another injury that happened in this game that I hope, that is not as serious as it looked. Obviously, he had a boot cast on after the football game, but Nate Clifton went out early in this game. That was tough to see. Someone who, in my opinion, was playing at a very high level, that was really starting to find his stride in this Danton Lynn defense. He was playing so well, playing at a high level. It was just so much fun to watch on Saturdays, on Friday. Obviously, this injury comes at a tough time. Hopefully, he can get back and get healthy. Obviously, you saw him, come back to the sideline, support his team, but he did have a boot cast on, so that's frustrating to see. But again, hopefully, it's not as serious as it looked, and he can get back to play. But I do want to highlight some of the younger guys that stepped up. The first one is Elijah Hughes. I thought he played very good football in this game. He got a big opportunity, right? He hasn't played a whole lot this year. He's been kind of buried on the depth chart a little bit. There's been some guys above him. There's some transfer guys that came in that are older veterans that got to play. Him being a younger player, you've got to earn those reps. But he got 42 reps in this ball game, played 42 snaps. That's the most he's played, I think, since he's been at USC, right? And you don't get that many reps really because of injury just to go out there and do them, right? Not to just, hey, we're going to throw Elijah out there. You've got to earn those reps, right? And that starts in practice. You've got to show improvement. You've got to show consistency that you can get the job done, during the practice week, that you can get the job done on Saturdays, or else you're not going to get those opportunities. So that's why he stepped up. And you're also not going to keep getting that many reps if you're not performing in the football game, right? If you're not going out there and doing a good job, you're not going to stay in the football game, right? So that's really promising to see that he got that amount of opportunities in this game. I thought he did a lot with those opportunities, right? Very pleased with his physicality. He's not going to jump off the stat sheet when you look at the stats at the end of the game, right? One of those guys that's in the interior of this defensive line, like a Nate Clifton, right? Like a Kobe Pepe, Gavin Meyer, those type of guys. But he did a good job of being physical, right? And he held his own. Physical offensive line from Rutgers. This is Big Ten football. I thought he did a great job in the middle of this defense. Another guy that I thought played at a very high level, Sam Green, right? He had a sack in this football game. He showed some flashes as well of how good he can be. Cameron Fountain, another guy, had a sack, played well. He's been getting better with the more reps that he's getting. Devin Tompkins, another guy who's played a lot of football the last couple of weeks, especially with Anthony Lucas out, especially with some of these guys out. He's got to rotate in and play well, or he's got to rotate in and get some more opportunities, and I think he's played well with those opportunities. He had 6 tackles in the game, which was 3rd on the team, right? So I thought he did a good job, showed some very promising things as a young player. A lot of these guys did. I'm so excited about the depth that we have at that position, and we've talked about before, right? We are worried about the depth of the defensive line. We're worried about guys, if they can step up, if they can be those guys that needed to play at a high level when they're called upon, if there's injuries. Well, we're starting to see it, right? A little bit quicker than we thought would happen, but we're starting to see it, and they're forced to play. And I thought they've been doing a great job, some very promising things. We've done a good job of developing these guys. I think Danton Lynn, Eric Henderson, right, have been phenomenal with getting these young guys ready to go. And that's something that Coach Henderson, they call him Coach Henney. That's something that Coach Henney prides himself in, right, is developing younger players, is teaching you how to be the best you can be on this defensive line and showing you how to excel on game days. He's doing a great job with those guys. Another guy I want to shout out, I just talked about him a second ago, but Gavin Meyer continues to impress me. He is making a run for that MVP spot on the defensive side of the football. Now, there's other guys that you can argue are in that spot, but Gavin Meyer has been a pleasant surprise this year, right? He kind of came out of nowhere in the offseason coming over from Wyoming. got here late, got here in the fall, late transfer, and then really just kind of jumped into a starter on this football team, and now he's becoming a key player or a big time impact player on this defense. So it's great to see him continue to improve. Had a couple games where I thought he could have been a little bit better, but it's great to see him get back on track. This last week did a good job of controlling the trenches, playing very physical at the point of attack, great gap integrity, making some plays in the backfield. Now, was it perfect up front? Were there some mistakes by these young players? Were there things that we can do better? Absolutely. Wasn't perfect. There's things that they can improve on, but overall, and there was a couple missed tackles here and there and a couple times you see guys get out of position, but overall, I think it was a great foundation and like we talked about before, a ton of great experience for these younger guys now to go back and self-scout, watch film, and build off of for some of these games coming up.
Alrighty, Cody, we also have questions to get to, so any final thoughts on the USC's defense?
No, like I said, overall, I thought it was a phenomenal performance, especially with the depleted roster, with guys that were hurt, with younger guys having to step up, having to make some of these big-time plays. Also want to give credit to the veterans on this defense, right? I talked about Gavin Meyer. I talked about some of those leaders in the back end that did a great job of helping out these young guys that had to play some meaningful snaps in this football game, something to build off of. Again, something that's going to help the development of this football team, of this defense under Danton Lynn and under Coach Henderson and the rest of his staff going forward. These reps were so important to have. But another guy I want to give credit to, one of those leaders is Easton Mascarenas-Arnold. I thought he's been playing very good football lately, playing at a high level. He continues to impress me, leads the team with 66 tackles. He's just someone that you love watching every Friday or Saturday, whatever day he's playing on, whatever game we have. You can watch him, find number 4 on the defense. He's going to be flying around. He's going to be leading, getting guys lined up in the right position, making plays in the backfield, does a great job of working sideline to sideline. Not only is he very physical, but he's also plays with a lot of great speed, a lot of great instincts as well. You can tell he watches film. He knows where the play's going. So I got to give Ford his flowers and just, how he's continued to develop. And Danton Lynn's scheme has been fun to watch. The one thing I will say, though, and something I think we can improve on going forward, especially this week against Washington, yes, it was great that we didn't turn the football over on offense, right? We protected the ball outside of that one fumble, but we recovered it. We did a great job there, but we also had no turnovers on the defensive side of the ball. That's something I think we can improve on. Would like for us to find a way to create some takeaways and really start to win these turnover battles or the turnover margin in these football games, because I think that's going to help us so much, especially when you have limited possessions going against these other Big Ten teams.
Two things. One, this made me realize that we've had the full trifecta of game days this season, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So we had the whole weekend,
yeah.
Cody.
Well, I almost said watch number 4 on Saturdays, right? Or it's exciting on Saturdays. But like you said, we played Sunday game. Now we've had a Friday Night Lights game. And we played plenty of Saturday games. It's crazy. But when you play in a new conference, when you get primetime games, you got to be ready for that. But yeah, it's tough to just say be ready for them every Saturday, because now we're playing in Sunday and Friday. We don't have a Thursday game this year, right?
No, I don't think so. No.
The rest of them are Saturday on the here on out.
Yes.
I know.
It's
watch
now
us get
Wednesday,
flexed to Thursday now. I don't want to jinx us.
Right.
Give us another short week. But yeah, no, that's why it's tough to say just on Saturdays.
No, I know. I think multiple times throughout this podcast, I've almost said Saturday. I'm like, Friday. So yeah. Messes with your brain. And then my second thing was that I just want to give context to what happened in the bowl. So towards the end of the game, there was that Mason Cobb. It looked like it was a interception, but Riley challenged it. From the bowl, the replay that they showed at the time, right before the challenge, the angle they showed looked like Cobb had it. It looked like he had possession. It didn't show that hop it took on the field. And so much so that I think Miller ran to Riley on the sideline and was like, review that, because they were so hyped up that he got it. But I think on the broadcast, it didn't seem that way. So everyone was like, why is Riley challenging it? That was just my perspective, because I was like, Cobb totally got it. And I was like, oh my God, his 3rd interception of the season. But yeah, just context there for in the bowl versus watching at home.
Yeah, well, I'm glad I got it right, because you know how I've been about replay, about on the field calls and all of that.
Yes.
But it is. I mean, it's and that kind of wraps up my final point that I was saying is, if we've had times, and not only right there, but in this season, where we've had times, we had opportunities for big time takeaways, right? For turnovers, we've been so close so many times. We just really need to take that next step. And those are 2 areas that I've wanted to see us improve on defense. We have been so much better under Danton Lynn this year on the defensive side of the football. We have taken tremendous step forward in so many different categories. We're going to continue to do that. I am so excited, and I can't reiterate enough how excited I am about the future under Danton Lynn. I mean, whatever it takes to keep him here, let's do it, and then some. I'm just so excited about the way he calls the defense, about the aggressive style of play that he has, about using the versatility with all the different guys he has up front and moving guys around and putting them in the best positions to be successful. But two areas that I still think we can improve on, and Lynn would say the same thing if you asked him, I'm sure, is continue to create pressure on the quarterback, right? Because last year at UCLA, they had 43 sacks. They were 7th in the entire country. We've got to continue to get better in that area, right? Especially up front. We saw improvement this game, but another area, like you just mentioned, and we were close on Friday, and we've been close a couple times, but we've got to be a little bit better on takeaways and create some of those, explosive plays and get the momentum on our side.
It also helps when you have Latu on your side, Cody.
True, that's true. But and you know what? But Lynn's done a great job of putting our guys in those one-on-one spots.
Yeah,
we just got to be able to get home. But we're close, right? Jameel Muhammad, how many times is he in the backfield just not breaking down quite right or making the play? How many times has Braylon Shelby been right there just not getting it? That's going to come with reps. Now, would I love to have a Latu on every single team I played on? If there was a Latu on every single team you played on, it'd make your life a lot easier. He is just a very unique player, right? And he's very rare. But we do have guys, in my opinion, that can get to that caliber, that can continue to improve, especially some of these younger guys. And they've shown flashes of it. Or Tuli Pelotu was another guy that we had. Yeah. That's another guy and he's playing very well in the NFL right now. It's just tough to find those guys, but you can develop guys to get there. And I really think Lynn and Henderson and Coach Nua and Matt Ince as well, and Doug Belk and all the guys on this staff are going to continue to not only develop these guys up front, but develop some of these younger guys that have to play over the field. And I just really, really am hoping, and I know it's college football and there's always crazy off seasons, but I'm just hoping at this point Lynn can sign a lifetime contract and coach his defense forever. Is that realistic? No, but that just kind of goes to show how excited I am about what he's done with these guys and where they can get to.
Alrighty, Cody, let's jump into questions. Before we do, just want to give a thanks to Audi. Focus matters. Listen closely. The Audi Q8 e-tron's cabin is serenely quiet, so you can focus on other things like having tomorrow's technology today. The new fully electric Audi Q8 e-tron, how we get there matters. And at Ralph's, everyone wins when it comes to saving big, because when you order online through the Ralph's app, you get the same great prices, deals, and rewards on pickup or delivery that you do in store. So no matter how you shop, you always save big at Ralph's. Ralph's, fresh for everyone. Cody Kessler.
Fight on.
And
confetti.
I tried to do Emily
now,
proud.
Victory confetti.
There you
go. Let's get I think this is lightning. Or no, fireworks. There we go.
There is no lightning option.
What I thought there was Hold on. For those of you who don't know,
No, that's a bubble.
No, that's a thumbs up bubble. Well, anyways. No, wait. One is a... No, that's blue. Anyways, it's a lot more fun to do this. For those of you who don't know, I don't know how to turn off the feature
reactions
that does all these background stuff. But so it's stuck with us. We do it every episode, but now it's a lot more fun to do it after a win. So I'm glad to bring back the fight on confetti.
Yeah, it's not fun having confetti when we're recapping a loss for sure.
Yeah, I try to when we do, I go like quick and put it back down so the confetti doesn't fall after that. But hey, we've got to win this week. And it also makes it a lot more fun for questions. So I'm in a good mood now. I'm ready. I'm ready for some rapid fire.
Great transition, Cody. Our first question comes from De La Cruz, who said, do you think this past game has opened up Lincoln Riley's offense and realizing explosive plays that feature yards after the catch instead of downfield throws? Would love to see Marks, Branch, and Lemon more open in space, he says.
Yeah, I mean, I think it all depends on your opponent, and that's the most important part is how is the defense that we're playing against going to game plan against us? Are they going to give you some of those, no safety help over the top and give you some of those deep shots? Or are they going to play one high and play man-to-man like Rutgers did in this football game? And we talked about in our preview episode, they played a ton of man-to-man against UCLA. I didn't know if they were going to do it against us in this football game, but they did. They came out and trusted their athletes on the outside, and Lincoln Riley understood that, and he knew they were playing with the safety over the top, so he loved to use that underneath passing game, right? Have some of those crossing routes, whether it was short crossers, whether it was an over route with Malachi Lemon caught a touchdown on where he kind of got lost in the defense on the back end and had a walk-in touchdown. The Kyle Ford touchdown, I think he caught behind the line of scrimmage on a crosser route, stiff-armed the guy, and then finished in the end zone. A ton of yak in this game, yards after catch, YAC is what we call it, right? So that's great. It's great to see. I love that. And that was, really the recipe for this game. But I do think it's important going forward that we still need to be able to stretch the field. We still need to be able to push the ball down the field. Going back to the Maryland game, that hurt us a little bit, right? And I talked about it on the Trojan Tailgate show. Miller's been very good with his intermediate passes, with being able to go through progression and find some of these plays, underneath and find some of these crossing routes. And this game was obviously exactly that, getting the ball to his playmakers quickly and getting the ball in space so they can go make those plays and have those yards after catch. But I say all that to say we still need to be a little bit better pushing the football down the field. We didn't have a ton of opportunities this game. I understand that. But when those opportunities are there and it forces a defense to play you a little differently and have to prepare for that. We need to hit those. And what I mean by that is, the slot fades, the deuce. I don't need you throwing it 70-yard bombs every single time. Those 30-yard slot fades, some of those, the double move to Charles Ross a week ago against Maryland where we left it a little bit short and got a PI. We just got to be able to hit some of those, right? Throw it over the top. You get the ball up early with there. Throwing a 3-ball. Talk about on the show. 1 ball is on a line. 2 balls intermediate. Those are kind of the back shoulders throws. I want you to get the ball out early with air and throw a 3-ball. Throw it very high. Let him run underneath it. Get over the top. And I think that's going to add a different element to this offense. But, that's a great question. Right? You play or you game plan to how your defense is going to play you, or how the defense that you're going against is going to play you. They tried to keep everything underneath and playing man-to-man and force us to run those crossers. We did just that and found explosive plays that way.
Amy said, was Moss more bold/confident this game, or was the line just protecting him better?
Yeah, I think, and that's a great observation by Amy. I think those work hand in hand, or I know they work hand in hand because I've played the position before. But when your offensive line is protecting well, right, like they did in this football game, we did a phenomenal job up front, both in the run game and in the pass game, and they've continued to improve. And I know after some of these losses, it gets overshadowed a little bit, or you don't want to hear, hey, we took a step forward in this category when you're losing these games. But that is true, right? And you can't let the final score overshadow the progress that we've made. And I think one of the biggest areas we've improved is the offensive line. And I'm going to continue to say that and continue to give them their flowers because I was very critical on them at the beginning of this year. So it's great to see that improvement. But yeah, Amy, it works hand in hand. When you're a quarterback back there and you know that your left tackle is getting better and he's going to protect, and I don't have to worry about my blind side, the interior with your All-American, in my opinion, at this point in the season, arguably 2 of them with Jonah Monheim and Emmanuel Pregnon are playing very well. Lonnie Noah's starting to get into a rhythm and really find his own, or find his self-confidence in this offensive line as a young player. Mason Murphy is improving. It gives you that confidence as a quarterback to know now I don't have to just look at my first read and know I'm going to get hit, right? Because early in this season, Miller and this offense, and I'd love to see where it's at now, but we were worse than the entire country with time per throw, or time till pressure got to Miller, right? We had just over 2 seconds. That doesn't allow you to go through your progression. It doesn't allow you to go from 1 to 2 to 3, or then to try to scramble and find someone down the field. You're going to your first read, maybe your second, and then you're getting hit. You've got to get the ball out of your hand. You lose confidence that way. You don't really trust yourself. You don't trust your offensive line. When your offensive line protects well, your quarterback gains confidence. So like I said, that's a great question. And I love that Amy saw that, because you could really tell. And that's why I said at the top of the offensive segment of the show that Miller really played his best game in the sense of, running this offense, playing confident, going through his reads, getting the ball to his playmakers in space so they can go do the hard work, right? Let your playmakers work for you as a quarterback when you come to USC. That's why we go get all these big-time athletes, but you can't do that unless your offensive line's protecting well, and they did just that, and that's going to lead to your quarterback having more confidence in the pocket.
On that note, Connor said, is our pass blocking getting better? And I would assume the answer is yes, based off of what you just said, Cody.
Yeah, 100%. And like I said, I'm rapid firing on these, but yeah, it's great. It's great that we're getting questions now that people are seeing that though too. Amy obviously saw that, Connor sees that as well, and obviously he asked it. But it's the questions we've got before is, why is our offensive line not blocking well? Why are we struggling up front? How can we improve? What do we need to do to get better? Those aren't the questions we're getting anymore. And is it perfect? No. Are we still going to give up? There's good players on the defensive side of the football. Don't get me wrong, right? We're going to go against some very good defensive lines coming up too. Notre Dame has a very good front 7. We're going to get challenged. Washington has some very good football players coming up. Nebraska, good football players. UCLA, not giving them any credit, but we play them as well. So I say all that to say, is it going to be perfect? Are there going to be some times where they're going to win some? Sure. But you see that progress, and you see them, and instead of winning 1 out of every 3, now we're winning 2 out of every 3. Then you start winning 3 out of every 3 and get that confidence going. And then, yeah, you're going to give up 1 here or there, but that's where you start building momentum and continuity. And we're really starting to do that up front. It's great to know that, obviously our fans are seeing that as well.
I should have expected the cheap shot to UCLA at this point, but just caught me off guard there, Cody.
I know. Well, I was going to give them a little bit of credit, but I can't. No, I don't
you
have
bailed.
Any. I struggle. The only time I've given them credit this year is when I talk about Lynn a year ago when he was there. Outside of that, I struggle to give that ugly blue and gold over there any credit.
Fair enough. I will say, Cody, you did knock out a huge portion of the question segment in your opening kind of spiel about the offense, because Rolando, Joe, Sam, Kyle, and Zach all wanted to know, is Malachi Lemon our new #1 wide receiver? So you kind of addressed that. I'm not even going to give you a chance to answer because you're just going to say what you said at the top. I know you want to say something.
Say yes. I'll just leave it at that. I know. Can you tell?
I can see you gearing up.
Short answer, yes. He is. Right now at this point, if someone said pick a wide receiver 1, I'm saying Malachi Lemon. And he continues to, until someone tells me otherwise or someone else steps up, he is going forward.
Great job. So proud of you. That was very concise.
That was very concise. Trying to get to the point.
Very proud. Trojan Mom was also on the same page with you. She said, was it just me or were we way more balanced on the run to throw game? Great win and fun night at the Collie.
Yeah, 100%. And that's something I talked about, obviously last week when we had the lead against Maryland, right? Wanting to be a little bit more balanced, right? And Woody Marks was averaging over 5 yards per carry, but we threw it over 50 times and only ran it 22. And we had the lead in that football game. This week, we threw it 28. We ran it 23. We're very efficient in both. That is a winning recipe going forward. Now, different games are going to, call for different things. There may be a game we come out and we can't get the run game going, or we're struggling a little bit to see a surge up front. And Miller does have to win the game with his arm. And he's done that a couple times this year. The LSU game, right? We stuck with it, and Woody had a big touchdown run at the end of the game to win it. And obviously we had some explosive plays there. But that was a game where Miller had to go out and throw for 370 plus and show he could win the game with his arm. Louisville, last year, same thing, right? He's shown that he can go out there and win the football game with his arm. But to take pressure off your quarterback, especially when you have the lead in the second half, and even if you have the lead and you want to run the football out, it doesn't mean you have to you don't have to not be aggressive, right? You can still be aggressive and take shots, but let's lean more on the run game. Let's make it more balanced. Let's force these opposing teams that we're playing coming up have to prepare for both and not get out there and, okay, I'm going to pin my ears back, get after you in the pass rush, bring pressure, and know that you're going to throw it 50 times a game. Now you can do both, so we have to play a little bit more slow. Makes the play action a little bit more difficult to defend. Now you've seen Miller pull it and take off and run. That's added another element to the run game. So, yeah, the more balanced you can be on the offensive side of the ball, the better. And it forces the opposing defenses to have to prepare for a lot more and can't just key on one thing.
I will say, too, your mom talked about the crowd. I got to give a shout out to the Trojan faithful. Given how many events were happening in Los Angeles on Friday, I thought it actually was a pretty fun crowd. And on top of that, I met the most Trojan fans who watch our show, Cody, on Friday night than I've ever had before. It was insane.
Wait. Oh, no. I thought, was it one?
You're still trying to do the reaction.
Number one. I thought that was the lightning thing. Anyway, off topic, but back to that. Keely, we need to get you some security or something. You had some paparazzi. You had some fans. She did. I mean, it was cool.
I just took a picture in front of your parents. That's all that happened.
Well, I remember when I went up too, and our fans are awesome. I always take pictures, sign autographs. If you ever see me too and you want picture autograph, I promise you I will never be the one to walk away from that. I love getting to do that. I love getting to meet all the Trojan fans. But I went up there, took a photo with this kid, signed something for him, and he was sitting with his dad, and they're like, "Oh, there's Keely," and I heard him say it. And because cute. How many people watch the show now, and look at you, you're famous. We got to get Keely goes getting photo ops and
no, but it is really cool.
Keely was signing. She was signing footballs, throwing them into the crowd, signing microphones, throwing them into the crowd.
Oh, yeah.
Signing her notepad. But no, all jokes aside, though, I speak for both of us. We love that. If you guys see us at the game, unless you're, who was it? Who saw you at Maryland last week? And
Louis, and he never told me whether or not it was him, so it's a mystery.
Oh, Louis, yeah. So unless Keely ignores you, which sometimes
that's not true. That's not true. I will say though, sometimes if I'm going up and down the Coliseum stairs, people yell at me from the crowd, and I can't find you, and I wave in the general direction. Just know that I mean waving and thank you. I don't know. Words.
Sounds like an excuse to me, but
no. But I will say
sounds like a big time.
No, it is really cool though, and I've said this before. Like sometimes when we do this so much, Cody, it almost feels like we're podcasting into the ether. Like no one actually listens to us, and so to actually meet real human beings who know our faces. Also, I met someone on the sideline, Rita and her husband. Get this, Cody. Their daughter went to USC from 2011 to 2015, I believe. Adding is hard. And since then, they fell in love with the Trojan family, and they have gone to every have away game for USC football since 2011, which in itself is crazy. They live in Florida. What?
Wait, what?
Yes.
Wait.
Yeah, that was
but
the plot twist.
They don't have they have to have a house in California.
I don't know. I didn't ask
or
that.
Or they fly. Well, you didn't get that. Yeah.
I didn't get the personal information.
Okay, either way, if you're permanent residence is Florida and you're coming to every home game, unbelievable. Those of you who live in California, unless it's obviously financial or family issues or stuff like that, Trojan fans, no more excuses because of that. But no, it is.
I was blown away.
Those were my years too, 2011 to 2015. So that's cool.
There you go.
They got to watch me play a little bit. So that's exciting. But yeah, no, like we said, it's if you guys see us, if any home game, away games, I try to get back to everyone who messages us or tweets at us or responds to us.
You're much better at that.
But it is so cool. You're never bothering us. I love that stuff. I love getting to sign autographs, take photos with Trojan fans. I love sitting there too and having a fan call me over and saying, "Hey, I watched the podcast. I wanted to leave a comment, but talk to me about this." And you know me, like you just told
Oh
me a
my
second ago.
gosh.
I go right into podcast mode, and I'll have a
They'll
full
miss the game
conversation
because
with
he'll
a
be still
fan or a
talking.
listener, and or something will happen. I'll run back over there, like, "See what I'm talking about?" But no,
That's amazing.
I love we love getting to do that stuff. But thank you guys so much again, always for listening
For
and
sure.
supporting us. But
Yes.
like I said, we gotta get Keely some security. She's got some
No, no, no,
paparazzi
no,
down
no,
out
no,
there.
no. But it was fun. I really do enjoy meeting you guys. So thank you. And shouts to Rita.
Yeah.
She was really cool too. I love my Trojan women when they come up and they're like, I'm learning football because of you and Cody. I'm like, let's go. It makes me excited. So just had to give a special shout out to Rita there. We got a question from Rama who said, what do we need to improve on for the remaining 4 games? Which, by the way, is insane that we're already 8 games through the season, Cody.
Yeah. Rama, I'll say this, and this isn't something that we can improve on specifically, or there's no, really way to do it. We've got to get healthy. That's something that's very important, right? And that's something you talk about what teams go to the playoffs, and I'm talking the NFL as well. What teams play great in November and December or play into the postseason. Some of it is luck, but you've got to stay healthy, right? You've got to have your key players out there. Sometimes you can't control that. I get that. But we've got to get guys healthy so we can go out there and dominate. Was it great to see the young guys play? 100%, but we've got to have our leaders. We've got to have our vets out there, especially in the secondary on the defensive side of the ball. And we've got to continue to trust this football team, trust this coaching staff, and trust, just the core, the values, the foundation, everything that Coach Riley has instilled in this football team since he stepped foot on campus in 2022, since he's led this team. To start, lean back to what you've learned in spring ball, lean back to what you learned in fall camp, and all those, the dog days that, not 2 days anymore, but, you have those long days of meetings and practice and the blood, sweat, and tears that you leave on Howard Jones and the weight room and the meeting rooms and all the extra work you put in before. Lean back on that, right? That's kind of outside of the physical side of things, but that's so important when you get late in the season. It's easy, especially, and let's call it how it is, right? This is not how this team envisioned this year going, right? Being 4-4 through 8 games is not what their expectations were. That's not their ideal scenario. Obviously, they'd love to be 8-0. They'd love to be, still in the Big Ten race. They'd love to be in playoff contention. That's not quite what it is, but that's why you lean back on all of, the foundation and the core values of this football team. Because when times get tough like this, when adversity strikes and you're not where you want to be, it's easy to check out. It's easy to be like, all right, I'm done. We're not playing for a playoff anyway. We can't go to a Big Ten championship. There's really nothing to play for. I'm going to check out and take the easy road, right? But that's not the way this team is. That's something that we can do going forward, is really learn a lot about the pride and the want to and the characteristics of this football team. So I'm excited for that physical side of things. Got to continue to be balanced on offense. Got to be able to continue to run the football. The teams that win games and late in October and November are teams that can run the football well and play good defense. So it's important for us to continue to run the football, be balanced. Miller's got to continue to protect the football, eliminate turnovers on the offensive side of the ball. And then on defense, 2 things that I really want to see us continue to improve on: keep getting pressure on the quarterback, build off of this game from a week ago. But we've also got to find ways to start getting some takeaways, get some turnovers to create that spark on the defensive side.
Victory for Troy said, what was up with the crazy pre-snap movement of Rutgers offense and special teams?
Yeah, Troy, I didn't see too much as, compared to what we saw from Minnesota or some of the teams we played before. But when you have teams that do some of that pre-snap movement on special teams, and they did some of those rugby-style punts on special teams, we almost blocked one too, which would have been great to see. That would have been a great spark and punt block or on punt return. But when they do that, they're just trying to confuse you in pre-snap. I'd have to go back and watch specifically, or you'd have to be a little bit more specific which play you're talking about or which situation, or maybe I just missed it, so I apologize. But yeah, when you have teams that do a lot of pre-snap movement, which Rutgers did a fair share, but they're not as much as we've seen in the past. They're not doing as much as opponents that we faced earlier in this season. But when teams do that, it's just trying to get you out of space. And especially when you have a young secondary or some young players having to play, can they communicate on the fly, right? When you have a jet motion coming across, when you have Manungai moving sides, when you move your tight end left and right or having him slide and post snap as well, can they identify the right way? Can they be in the right position? Can they communicate, right before the ball snap? And then obviously once it's snapped, can they make the play afterwards and still be in the right spot? So that's a big thing there. And then on special teams, yeah, I saw them move their punter a good amount. Didn't see a ton of their pre-snap movement in the punt game or on special teams. I'd have to go back and look. But yeah, when teams do that, it's just to try to create confusion, both pre-snap and post-snap.
All right, I'm going to run through a couple of final questions / comments. Louis said, great win. The team looked like they had more energy on both the field and sidelines. Fight on. Mr. Ashcraft said, go Dodgers, Lakers, Rams, but especially my Trojans. Fight on, LA. I will say it was so
Go
cool.
Dodgers, baby. Let's go.
No comment. Did you hear
Sorry.
Did you hear the Coliseum erupt when Freddie Freeman hit the wall? That was insane. I was like,
yeah,
I think it was a TV timeout for USC, and I was like, they have to be reacting to the Dodgers game because this is insane.
Well, I was getting ready to. I think I just walked back over and was talking to Jordan, and then coming back to walk where you normally stand with Emily down in the end zone by the tunnel. And I was talking to Sua and Cam Smith was there, which was cool. I got to talk to him for a little bit. One of our buddies that went to Stanford was down there too. So we talked football for like a whole quarter. But then my parents were there, so they were up in the club area. So I was like, I'm going to go say hi to them. I walked over towards Jordan, was coming back to head up the stairs, and it just went crazy. So I wasn't looking at the Jumbotron. I don't even think they played on the Jumbotron. I think people were watching on their phones, right?
They were, and I had no service the whole game because everyone was streaming the game.
So I missed what happened. And then I hear everybody just going crazy. But then they showed it on the Jumbotron what happened afterwards.
And then they went insane again.
So then it kind of clicked for me. But we had looked too. The funny thing is we were sitting there and me and Sua were talking with Cam and we were and Sua asked, what's the Dodgers score? I can't get any service. So I pulled my phone out, got it, and it said it was 3-2 Yankees, bottom of the 10th. So they were in extra innings. And we were both like, dang, like trying to refresh. And I'm like, come on. And we had no idea what was going on. And then like 3 minutes later, that happened. And it was, go Dodgers. I'm a big Dodgers fan. That was great to see. My dad is too. My dad was beyond pumped. He was excited. I know Keely's rooting for the Dodgers too. You're not an Angels fan at all or anything. And you're loving it. I will say this though. You Angels fans, I hope you guys haven't been saying anything bad because that Shohei injury was scary.
Apparently
I hope he's all right.
Fine though. No, everyone says I sound like an ex, but I am happy for him. I'm glad to see him doing well.
Well, it was. He said they did the translation when he was talking to one of the trainers on the field. Said it popped out. He said, I think my shoulder popped out. Which those vary. That can be okay. I'll pop back in. He could have came back in and played that game, or some of those are a little bit more painful where they can linger a little bit longer. So those are hit and miss. I am just hoping so badly that he's okay.
Dave Roberts said that
now we go to New York.
He's good to go for Game 3, apparently.
Okay,
which is
great.
Insane.
I mean, that's tomorrow, so we'll see. But how much of a role he'll have, we'll see. I mean, hopefully he's fully cleared and good to go. But
no, I know.
Yeah, let's go. We're up 2-0. We're rolling. I'm excited. My wife went to Penn State, so we had that rivalry. She's also a Yankees fan, and my little brother is a Yankees fan too.
Random.
So there's been some Kessler. Some clashes of the Kesslers the last couple of weeks. So, but I'm winning this one right now, so I'm excited.
No, what's funny is Jordan Moore, who we do the Trojans Live Trojan Tailgate show every show with. He's our wonderful host, Yankees fan, and his mic also stopped working. He's the sideline reporter for the football radio broadcast. His mic stopped working, so I actually had to go get his mic and help him try and fix it. And so that was right after the.
Did you rub some salt in
the No, he came up to me and I was like, first the Grand Slam and now your mic's not working. And he was like, I want to go home. He was so sad. He was so sad.
And that game wasn't getting over until 2 a.m. So he had to sit there and just think about it all night.
He was a sad man. But I will say, for all my Angels love / Dodgers slander, I will say it's really cool to see how well this city loves and represents the Dodgers. Pretty cool to see just the Coliseum erupt with that. I know.
This is like one of those TikTok challenges where they force you to say one nice thing about the opposing team.
There's someone behind the camera right now forcing me to say all this. No, just kidding.
Yeah. I will say though, Kobe Bryant mentality, right? That interview. Hey, what's there to be excited about? Job's not finished. Job's finished? I don't think so, right? We got to keep rolling. We go to New York now. Staying level-headed. I'm going to talk a little trash to Jordan tomorrow at Trojans Live. It's 11:27 p.m. now. I'm pumped up. I'm excited. I want to wear my Dodger blue tomorrow to the show, but that I learned from Coach Odron, you do not wear blue of any color on USC's campus because of little brother. Obviously our the ugly blue. But I think there'd be an exception for that. But either way, I'm not doing it. But again, we're locked in. Dodger fans, we got. Hey, my prediction was Dodgers in 5. I had Shohei at MVP. At this point, I think Freddie Freeman is leading right now honestly. At MVP. I mean, he's got 4 home runs in 4 straight World Series games that he's played in. Obviously, had the walk-off, and he had another one. We went back-to-back yesterday. But Game 3 tomorrow. We're locked in. We're excited. hopefully the Angels can watch and take some notes and figure out how to get the job done going forward.
Oh,
I know. I'm
words.
sorry.
Where was that?
I couldn't help it. Well, it came out of nowhere. I know.
Seriously.
And you just said something nice about the Dodgers.
I know.
Like I said,
I take it back.
I am the most competitive person in the world. I'm fired up right now. You got me fired up at 11:30
Seriously,
on Sunday
calm
night.
down. You got to go to bed soon.
I know.
On that note, Timpson also said, who do you have winning the World Series? But I think you answered that very clearly. Also, fun fact, Friday night was the first time in history that the Lakers, Dodgers, and USC all won on the same night. Fun fact. So there you go.
Did you hear, though, what the argument was on Twitter or people were saying?
No.
Since the SC game finished after midnight, everyone was saying, "Oh, well, technically."
Oh my God!
They didn't.
So there was
technically we
we
won on Saturday morning, so everyone was arguing about that. But I'm like, come on, they all started on a Friday. The games were scheduled when they were scheduled was on Friday. We won the games that were scheduled. Yes, the game ended on Saturday morning technically, but we're taking it at Lakers too. Shout out JJ Redick right now. He's got the team going at 3-0.
I know.
This is Victory Podcast turning into the
Los
LA
podcast.
Sports
Yeah,
podcast
yeah, for real.
I know.
Yes, but I don't count it until I go to bed. That's a new day. So that's where I stand on that argument.
Same. If it's 2 a.m. Saturday morning, I'm like, it was Friday night.
Exactly.
Same thing.
Exactly.
We're all over the place right now.
Yes, we are.
Is there any more questions?
No,
are we done?
take it, please outro us now.
Okay. Well, it was it was so exciting to talk about, this football team after a win. It was great to break that 3-game losing streak, to see this team really not, it could have been easy to shut down. It could have been easy to check out and really to just, I don't want to say give up, but kind of stayed in the dumps and kept, struggling to find that win, because it's so tough when you go on a losing streak to just get that one win, right? And that can really spark that confidence and get that momentum going back forward. And I'm hoping that's the case for this football team. I'm excited for Coach Riley, Miller, the rest of the guys to rally this team, get them ready to go this week in Washington. Got a tough one on the road. I'm excited. Me and Keely will preview that for you guys on Wednesday and tell you everything you need to know about the Huskies and what to look for in this game. But with that being said, go Dodgers, go Lakers, go SC, fight on. Everybody won on Friday. We're sticking with that. You heard it here first at the Victory Pod. That's your source for the information. So that's all I'm going to leave it with. I don't know what I'm saying anymore. I'm talked a lot. Love you guys.
Good.
Fight on. Confetti one more time for a win.
There you go.
I am out, and then we will see you guys later this week.
True.
Keely, wrap us up.
Previewing the first team that USC has actually played last season. Crazy, right?
Wait.
You going for a treat?
One more. Oh, boy. We got our Victory Podcast for every show. Come on.
Our Coda appearance.
Oh,
there you go.
There we go. Hi, Bubba. We got one more. I faked him last time.
You did.
All right. Fight on for me and Coda. We're out. Love you guys.
There you go.
Let's keep this thing rolling.
You heard the man. That's going to wrap it up for this week's recap episode. That's Cody. I'm Keely. We'll see y'all next time.